Before we start talking about what's happening, let me ask you a question. How old are you? If you're 28 or older, you have probably got this feeling that the game has been getting a lot worse in terms of entertainment. You know that most players with flair, creativity, they're mostly gone. And that we have these very robotic players on the rise, and I don't blame you if you think that way. Joga Bonito has been dying for decades. I thought maybe Neymar would bring it back, and to his credit, he tried, but that just delayed the inevitable. Today I want to talk about the death of Joga Bonito, why it happened and why it's currently happening, and the crazy Memphis Depay situation that happened in Brazil because it's directly related to the topic of Joga Bonito. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Chapéu Football, the best channel on YouTube when it comes to Brazilian football coverage in English. Trust me, you ain't gonna find a better one out there. And usually we do these very well-researched videos, but today that's not what this video is about. Because I just wanted to put my opinion out there about this specific topic, what happened to Memphis Depay in Brazil. So it's just gonna be my opinion and not a ton of research, in case you give a shit. Because as someone that has seen the beautiful game age like milk and get progressively uglier over the years, I just want to talk about this Memphis Depay ban. Don't get me wrong, I still love the game of football, or soccer, whatever you want to call it, but it ain't perfect. Now before we start, make sure to drop a like in this video, it helps us a lot, and subscribe. We're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Thank you very much for all the support, and let me know in the comment section down below, why do you think Joga Bonito has died? What are the reasons, or the multiple reasons, because there's definitely more than one. With that said, let's begin the episode. So before we even start, we must define what is Joga Bonito. What is that, right? Because mainly people will just say it's elásticos or nutmegs and rainbow flicks and Rabona kicks, tricks. But that's an oversimplification of it. That's not really what Joga Bonito is. Joga Bonito is the soul of this game. The ability that players have to express themselves, be creative, pull a magic trick, even a different goal celebration is part of Joga Bonito. It's the portion of the sport where it's art. It's a style of football created by Brazilians which focuses on fluidity, individual skill, creativity, art, and most importantly, the freedom for the players to express themselves like an artist. It's not about rigid tactics, it's the opposite of that. Players have the freedom to be themselves, be entertainers with the ball while also winning trophies. While we can blame Europeans and Pep Guardiola for ruining all of that, I'll get to that later. I think Pep Guardiola is a genius, but he definitely played a role in killing a little bit of Joga Bonito. We'll talk about that later in the video. However, recently, Brazil has done damage to Joga Bonito themselves. Yes, the creators of it are trying to destroy it. So let's talk about the Memphis Depay situation. Because what happened to Memphis Depay in Brazil is stupid. It's nonsense. It's complete. It's actually, when you really think about it, it's mostly due to a bunch of morons running the Brazilian Football Federation. During the São Paulo State Tournament final, the Paulistão, Corinthians was ahead 1-0 on aggregate against their rivals Palmeiras while playing at home. So Memphis Depay decided to stand on the ball and balance on it to provoke the opponent. And listen, I'm a Palmeiras fan, and I was pissed off, I was furious when that happened. But understand, I had no issue with it. The moment you ban, and we're going to talk about that in a second, or prohibit something like that from happening, let's say banter, provocation, a trick, if you ban that, you're essentially banning the soul of this game. And that also includes when they ban specific player celebrations that they say that, well, not ban, but give a yellow card when a player celebrates dancing in front of the opponent's fans. Why is any of that an issue? So CBF, the federation ran by a bunch of imbeciles, decided to ban that skill move as it can be seen as provocation. Which sure, it is provocation. But at the same time, can't most skill moves be seen as provocation? A rainbow flick, for example. If I choose to nutmeg someone instead of passing, is that provocation? Like if I get the ball on the side of the field and I can pass it to my teammate, or I can nutmeg the opponent, which is an ovinho, to put the ball in between the legs of the opponent. Is that provocation? I could have passed, right? So am I provoking the opponent? What are we doing here? as silly as this sounds, we are killing the soul of this game, which is Joga Bonito, the ability to express themselves. And Brazil is doing that themselves. It's crazy that the land that created Joga Bonito is the one choosing to ban it, I would say. Now listen, Memphis Depay had something to say about this after they banned that skill move when he did it, of course. Even though Soteldo did it for Santos many years ago, I think in 2023, he did that and there was a big fight against Vasco. I was fine with that too, but Soteldo did that a while back. This time when Memphis Depay did it, they decided to ban it. Now listen, let's say Estevão did that against Corinthians, right? The Palmeiras prospect that's going to Chelsea. I would love it, and Corinthians fans would be pissed. I actually have no issue with this, but let's go through what Memphis Depay had to say on X. And this is what he wrote. So I really went to Brazil to also experience Joga Bonito firsthand. But now CBF Football has announced yesterday that no player can stand on the ball or the player will receive a yellow card. It was decided after I did the balance on the ball for a couple seconds in the last final of the Paulista Cup. Not to say it's such an important factor in football, but I don't see the issue here. I'm going to interrupt Memphis right there. It is an important factor because the moment you ban that, you're opening the window, or the door in this case, to banning a celebration. Maybe a nutmeg. Or if I'm winning the game, is it okay if I just juggle the ball doing baixadinhas to piss off the opponent? Why should that be legal? It's part of the game. It's not like I'm using my hand or I'm being violent towards someone. And then he went on to add, Brazilian football is elevating and deserves global visibility. There's so much talent over here, which honestly is true. That's just my opinion right there. The joy and passion in the way of expressing ourselves on the field shouldn't be limited. I 100% agree with Memphis Depay right there. So I really wonder what the board of CBF looks like. Oh boy. Don't get me started with what the board of CBF may look like. This is a federation ran by corrupt, greedy imbeciles. And I am not going to keep adding on to that because I don't want to get in trouble for speaking the truth here. But don't even get me started on what that board looks like. It's what Thumper from Bambi once said. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything. And I have nothing nice to say about CBF, as you can clearly see. And then Memphis Depay went on to say, who's deciding the future of this beautiful football country? Let's focus on what the rules can improve the sport and focus on the business side of football, what benefits the clubs, the fans, and players instead of these silly announcements. And then he went on to joke by saying hashtag respectfully. Essentially what CBF is telling us, the Brazilian Federation, when they ban a skill move like this, is that the players are not allowed to fully express themselves, which is the essence of Joga Bonito. What is happening to the game I love? You know, I know this is just a small incident, but it has a big impact on the big picture. The moment you ban a skill move, you're banning the art of this game. Along with all the complexities of the game, players now have to think before they do a skill move. Like, are they gonna get a yellow for it or not? They don't know, right? Like, if I am winning a game, I'm not allowed to make fun of the opponent? It's all a joke, and CBF is ran by a bunch of Muppets. Like, understand, we complain about the British people when they complain about Vinicius Jr. dancing once he does a celebration, or Anthony doing that spin move, which is kind of stupid, but he does the spin move, or a rainbow flick. We complain about the Brits, right? The people from England mainly. And then we go on to do something like this, which is ban basic provocation and just a basic skill move. Brazil doing this is no different. And Neymar also had something to say about this on Instagram. And I'm going to translate it. This is what Neymar said. Football is getting more and more boring. Too much nonsense. Which is true. That's why when I opened the video, I asked you about your age. If you're 28 or older, you probably do agree with that statement. That the game is still amazing. And I love this game. But it's gotten progressively more boring over the past 10 to 15 years. Okay, so along with this crazy Memphis Depay situation in Brazil, which is small compared to the big picture of a lot of things that have happened in terms of killing Joga Bonito, what else has impacted that? What is killing that? And honestly, it all comes down to the European influence in the global game. Europe has more influence in football these days than they ever had. More than ever, trust me. They didn't have this much influence in South America in the 80s, even the 90s. It started to grow a lot in the 2000s, and then now it's peaking, like it's as big as it's ever been. Now, understand, a lot of it also comes down to Pep Guardiola. That's why I mentioned him earlier in this video. His positional play tactics, his style of play is very rigid and robotic. Look at his teams. Most of his players are like that, right? Look at Man City, even his Bayern team. That's what he looks for. Players that are obedient, and they honestly look like video game players, right? They don't have that fluidity that you wanted to see in a football team. And when it comes to positional play, go look it up, learn it yourself. I'm not going to dive into it in this video. And understand also that I'm not criticizing Pep Guardiola. His tactics are effective, and he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. I have no doubt about that, and I don't think he did this on purpose. But his influence has led many youth coaches in Latin America, Europe, whatever, to try to replicate it. And then you get all these robotic players that are overcoached at the youth level and senior level. The fluidity of the game is gone. It's become extremely physical and tactical, which makes the game far more boring and less artful than it once was. And then you may be saying, well, a lot of the players are still developed in Latin America. Why are they not getting the same development? One, Pep Guardiola's influence and Europe's influence does play a role, but we still do develop in Latin America players with flair and creativity. The problem is, a lot of them leave when they're 18 these days. Back in the day, they would leave a bit older, when they were maybe 21, 22, 23. Now they leave when they're 18. And then you look at players like Vinicius Jr., for example. He'll do a rainbow flick here and there occasionally, but there's a lot of European influence in his game because it played a role in his development over the past 4 years. But we can talk about many other Latin America, South American players over the past few years that when they were 18, and that changed a lot of the way they played. Think about this for a second. Neymar didn't really go to Europe till he was 21. And to me, he is the last player that truly had the essence of Joga Bonito. And if you think about it, he's also the last player or the most talented player of this Brazilian generation by a landslide. I think Neymar is way better than Rafinha, Vinicius, Rodrigo. I don't know if the current version of Neymar is, but prime Neymar is miles ahead of Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Rafinha. But those are just my thoughts. I just wanted to talk about this because I thought the Memphis Depay situation was horrible in Brazil. I don't like it. Unfortunately, it did happen, and it looks like it will stay the way it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What has killed Joga Bonito over the past 10 to 20 years? And let me know your thoughts on the Memphis Depay situation that happened in Brazil with CBF. Now, I want to thank you all very much for watching. Drop a like before you go. Subscribe, and have a great day.